Welcome to Forum Views, your local Cavan TV magazine show covering local and national news from myself, Daniel Downey, and
me, Kate Ennells, of course.
Remember, folks, if you want to get in touch with us, if you have a story, or if you want to come online and talk about the news or come on board, then contact us on cavantv.com or drumlinmedia@gmail.com. So, Kate, who do we have in with us today?
Well, we have two wonderful guests with us tonight. We have Jerry Brady on the far side over there, and Jerry Brady is a Gowner man, neighbour of mine. And we have Margaret Naylon, who works with us on Cavan Community Radio. And Margaret's actually a star performer in the radio. So
nice
thank you very much for coming, both of you.
Very welcome.
You're not from Gowner, are you, Margaret?
No.
Oh, thankfully.
Cavan TV are feeling a bit Gowner dominated at the moment.
Dear.
Yeah.
I'll stick up for everyone else.
Yeah,
Good,
okay.
thank you.
You run with it. So, Margaret, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and Jerry, then you. So,
Right.
Margaret, you go
Well,
first.
I've been working in the holistic healing field and also the writing field for many years. I've had several books published, mainly on the spiritual field, Angel Magic being probably one of my most well-known ones.
Okay.
And my most recent one actually is called Perfect Timing, which is numerology and astrology mixed. And
That's fascinating. I've read it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
it's really
Yeah.
good.
Well, it's something that everybody could learn about. Actually, numerology is the science of numbers. It's nothing about arithmetic apart from
Right.
adding up two figures together. But it would be wonderful to actually do it in schools because it can help you to understand what you should be doing.
Yeah.
And I always think, gosh, if you just teach that now to transition years, it would probably save them an awful lot of trouble when they're, applying for
Teenagers.
college or something. Yeah. And being teenagers, actually, yes, you're quite right. But anyway, apart from writing, I also write for the Examiner as well, apart from writing books. And then I give workshops as well on, again, my books really,
very
Perfect Timing and Angel Magic and
Excellent.
such like.
Good. Well, at the end of the session, Margaret, remind us and give your details to
Right,
Yeah.
thank you
people.
very much, yeah, will do.
Jerry, the
I-
man himself.
I'm very
Angels?
very boring in comparison, and I hope I don't see angels for an awful long time yet.
You've got a while
As
yet,
you
I'm
said,
sure,
I'm
Jerry.
from Ghana. I'm an area sales manager with Irish Life. That's my occupation. I'm very heavily involved, as you know, locally in the community in Ghana through football and through development and all that, and also heavily involved with Cavan County Board as well on the financial end of things. So I suppose GA is really at the heart of it. Married, I've got two kids, one unfortunately in Australia at the moment in Perth. If he's listening in or watching in, hiya Kieran.
yeah.
And
Good.
I've got a daughter who is a garden at Loan.
Very
So
good.
that's
Excellent.
basically
We
it.
should also say that Jerry is the chair of the Ghana Development Association. So,
Excellent,
and has been
excellent.
for a while. Great chair.
I have to say, all of Cavan seems to be in Perth. It's it's a great city to be in at the moment.
I
It's-
thought they were all in Poland last week.
Well,
They move around,
from
don't they?
Poland to Perth.
From Poland to
Great
Perth, all the
travellers.
bees.
Okay, so
Very
let's
good.
move on to the stories this week. And of course, the first good story is the Flare. Last week we covered the fact that Flare had closed and 40 jobs had gone. This week, we're hoping that the majority of them are going to be saved.
Yeah, up to 40 jobs apparently could be saved by investment from FLBM,
Yeah.
a company. So it's great news, absolutely brilliant news.
It's fabulous news. Yeah, I was just looking at it on the Anglo-Celt, and I think that's at the heart of the hopefully surviving in this country is little factories like Flair and local companies, because Flair has been there, as I said, for 40 years. They've been a fantastic employer, put out fabulous product. We probably all have some other products
Yeah.
in our
Yes.
houses, and I think it'd be an awful shame that if they were let go.
Yeah.
So it's great news to see that they're going to be taken over and going to be kept viable.
Well, let's just hope that actually all the jobs can be created and it's not going to be at a reduced
Yeah,
salary. But we shall see. But yes,
Yeah.
good news, good news.
yeah, it's excellent.
And then our star here is
Oh, I
our
don't know
number
about
2
that,
item. It's Daniel. Daniel, you're in Burma, so you've met.
Aung San Suu Kyi.
Thank you
Difficult
very
name to
much.
pronounce sometimes. But yeah, she was in Dublin on Monday. She was given freedom of the city. So I spent a year working on the border of Burma, Thailand, and just promoting pro-democracy and working with junior politicians there, trying to teach them about liberty theory and politics, stuff like that.
Very good.
So it was very interesting, but it was great to see someone of her calibre coming here after
Yeah.
so many decades in house arrest, you know,
Yeah.
so...
I think
Because Nelson Mandela got the freedom of the city.
he did, I think, didn't
Yeah,
he? Yeah.
yeah,
And in
I
fact,
think
I
so.
think wasn't Ireland the first place that she came to? Was that right?
The second...
In Europe?
yeah. But she's always loved Ireland. The last time she was free, she was in Ireland as well, 21 years
Yeah.
ago, so... Yeah,
Right,
definitely.
yeah, so it obviously is a tiny little country, but get our name out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
How long did you spend under house arrest?
On and off for the past 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So
Okay, there's Daniel on screen there, guys. You can see him there. That's not
it's
with-
some students actually.
Yeah, okay.
So,
So-
well, one co-teacher, a Burmese American co-teacher on the other side, and a student in the middle. So yeah,
Okay.
very good.
Okay, so moving on. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
So moving on then, because we've got quite a few to get through to
Yeah.
get to today, is the Dowratine who lost her mum to cancer and managed to raise 26,000. Pretty good, isn't
It's
it?
amazing, absolutely amazing.
Mm.
And apparently it was all in kind of a weekend or a week of events that
Yeah.
she's
Yeah,
done this
yeah.
in.
It's extraordinary, really, considering apparently, you know, the recession and everything.
Yeah.
People are still extremely generous, aren't they?
Yeah.
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 Fantastic.
They were riding pigs, were they?
Well, they had, the pig racing competitions,
pig racing.
shaving, dyeing, all that kind of stuff.
Sorry, I knew I was going to get that wrong. I kept practicing
Pig racing,
it beforehand.
pig riding.
Pig racing, not pig riding.
There's another idea now. For
Yeah,
us, like,
exactly, another fundraiser.
Yeah, poor
Okay.
pigs,
But
though.
I think it's fabulous, as you say, and like even coming locally back to Gowan again. Last weekend there was a cheque presented for 11,000 for the Irish Cancer Society as well
Yeah.
by Colette O'Reilly, and what they did there was a walk on Easter Monday, and also had Operation Transformation going for 10 weeks before
Brilliant.
that. But as you say, it's just unbelievable what people will do and the amount of goodwill that is out there in recessionary times, and I think it's a
Yeah.
great credit to everybody. And unfortunately, we all have to step in. These are things the government should be doing for us,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
unfortunately, with the cutbacks and the way the economy is at the moment, the people have to do it for themselves. So
Yeah.
they all deserve tremendous credit.
Yeah, no, they certainly do.
Definitely.
Okay, and then another nice story is the celebration of the Cavan Feroiga, 60 years.
60 years in
years
County
going.
Cavan, yeah.
So
So,
they
a few
just kept-
pictures of their
Yeah.
celebration there. And they really do go from strength to strength.
Yeah.
Their membership grows every single year.
I know, it's amazing actually.
Yeah, so Sean McKiernan's made a presentation at it as well. So
To Sean Doris,
Yeah.
who's the volunteer leader for 25 years
yeah,
on this one, and she's a member of the Garda Síochána.
Mhm.
But I mean, Feroiga locally as well is absolutely crucial.
Mhm.
I know that in Virginia, where you
Mm.
come from, Margaret, it's the Lurgan Feroiga,
Mhm.
do an enormous amount of work and contribute then also to the Virginia show and to the
Mm.
other activities that are going on. So well done to Feroiga.
It's a great opportunity for young people, isn't it?
It is.
Mhm.
To get organisational skills and things.
It is, yeah, because they chair it themselves and everything, don't they?
Speaking of promoting local things and local ideas, we have the Golden Mile back in Cavan,
Yeah.
which is brilliant. And what is the Golden Mile, Kate?
Well,
What's it?
Golden Mile there's the leaflet, folks. Basically, what it is, communities go out and they choose a mile that they like and that they think is worth walking along.
Mhm.
And then they get kids and the community involved, and people paint the gates and trim the grass and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. But also do little signs so that if there's any bridge or piece of heritage on the route, then you can actually tell people about it. And then it's judged every October, and they get a little prize if they win.
Brilliant.
And it goes into a calendar at the end. So everyone who puts in a walk goes into a calendar, which is then produced by the County Council. It's actually great for getting local people who are not normally involved in community things involved. We put in every year.
We did it in Gowan, and we've been involved in it for a number of years. I think it's fantastic, as you said, it gets local community involved, it gets local kids in the school involved as well, little projects about it. And the other thing that it really highlights from the communities around Cavan is the fantastic walks we have, the fantastic scenery we have, and probably we take them for granted because we pass by them every day, but it really highlights them.
Yeah.
And I think the Cavan County Council deserve tremendous credit for promoting it.
Yeah,
and
it is.
getting
And it
involved.
hasn't happened all the time because it does cost a bit of money, but they've come back with it. So guys, if you're interested, contact Cavan County Council on, I'm just trying to find the number here, 049 437 8600.
Yeah. We're on to a not so great story. The over 450,000 less funding available to Cavan CE schemes. It's seen as disgraceful. And it's something that we covered on Cavan TV a few weeks ago as well. We had in a guest for that.
Yeah, Paddy MacDonald came in from Baileyborough. It's a huge cut, 450k less. It's actually a cut of their training materials. So community employment people come on board. They join a small group. It's often a community group, Balnyar Hall or whatever, And they used to have 1,500 materials, training materials, and to buy lawnmowers or whatever it is.
But it's very,
or
very
whatever.
difficult to try and do these. The projects are very worthwhile, but it's very hard to do the projects without the backup, without the support, and without
Well,
the
if
materials.
you can't buy the paint, if you can't buy the lawnmower,
Yes.
you can't do the job.
Yeah, exactly.
So and the other thing about it is it does provide training for
apart from giving people a focus.
it
Just so
gets
good
them back
psychologically,
into
isn't
paid
it?
employment.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of people come out of CE into paid full-time employment. Does anyone?
Do you have any CE schemes in your areas that you know of?
Yeah, we've got one. We be on the Killashandra area. We've had it for a number of years in Ghana, and they've been really tremendous success. Like, it's not just about cutting grass but which is very important as well, and keeping it the community looking good, but and painting signs and different things. But as Margaret said, it's the people that are involved in the work. It's so good for them physically, mentally, and it gets them out and about, and gets them actually active as well, which is soul destroying to be sitting at home on the dole all the time. So and they're all very keen to work, which is great as well. And they really have contributed tremendously to the appearance of our communities. It'd be a terrible shame to see if they did stop.
Well, let's hope. I mean, it's just cut all the time, isn't it? And that's the problem. That's the problem for the community sector. Okay, moving on is another bad news story, of course. 40 new abuse cases reported each week in Cavan. 40 each week. This is child abuse.
Yeah.
Ranging from physical neglect to discrimination and sexual abuse.
It includes a 22% increase alone in local calls from last year to this year.
Right, gosh.
So that's quite a jump. It's a huge jump.
And is this caused by the recession, do you think?
I think
more
it's
stress
actually that people are reporting.
Really, well, I suppose that's quite healthy in some ways, isn't it?
Yeah, rather than it sort of
depressing
being
though
a
it is, of
sudden
course.
jump.
Yeah.
And I think it probably indicates the poor standards within some of the care homes, you know. And in a sense that links into the national story that's come out,
on the government report that was out.
Yeah.
So did you see
It's
that
just
during
so
the week?
depressing.
Which is terrible, like 196 deaths due to abuse, which is just unbelievable. From in a 10-year period, from 2000 to 2010, it's just frightening. So it is.
Yeah. I mean, kids committing suicide, wasn't it?
Suicide it's just unbelievable. Overdoses. It's self-harm. It's just tragic. I think, as you mentioned earlier, I think a lot of this was swept under the carpet for a long number of years, and thankfully it's been reported now. Kids are coming forward and they are reporting, and it is vitally important, and probably the more publicity like these things get, the better, because it gives people the confidence to come out and speak up and not be afraid anymore.
But it does give the kind of, maybe we need to reassess the Celtic Tiger years. It wasn't as rosy as we thought it was. Maybe, there was a lot of money around, but maybe it wasn't being spent in the right areas, putting the right facilities in.
Because all these people, I mean, they are employed, but there's obviously something wrong with the way they're organised, that they are employed. No doubt they're all working, long time and very, very stressful job, but it just seems that they're not being heard, or there's some sort of administrative breakdown or something.
I think
There's
social
something,
workers have a really
desperate
appalling time
job,
of it, actually. And
very
I think
little support, I'd say.
Yeah, and that has to be recognised. And what the scary thing is, how are they going to recognise it with all the cuts?
Yeah.
I mean, they say they're going to plan 24-hour care. I can't believe that some of those kids don't have 24-hour care.
Yeah.
So they leave the homes overnight? I don't know. But anyway, apparently they're going to put in 24-hour social work service.
Yeah.
Who's going to pay?
Wasn't there something in the last few years about some sort of an agreement that there was going to be no child in poverty in Ireland? I vaguely remember this. And what happened, there's something basically wrong, isn't there? Something missing.
Yeah, all those strategies that the government has put in place, all those new policies that never get implemented across the board, really, whether it's
But I mean, is this because there isn't a proper legal structure about child protection?
Well, there isn't.
Or is it tokenistic? I mean, is it more a kind of a political promise,
Yes,
put out there?
But I do think that they are trying to do something specific this time, aren't they?
They are. They've
only 40
employed
years
this
too late.
new man, Gordon Gordon Jays, who's actually been put headhunted, I believe, and been put in charge of trying to create a system for the children that actually works and supports the social
it sounds like it's all sort of just, you know, waiting for the disaster to happen and then just trying to organise it rather than having some sort of background.
Yeah, well, the
Thing,
disasters
you know.
have happened. Was it in Roscommon?
Yes,
Family,
it's terrible.
the
But
Roscommon family.
gosh,
think-
And
yes,
then they
yeah.
just get they
Yeah,
just get
just forget
blamed
about
and
it,
shouted
yeah.
that no, someone gets blamed, the social worker,
Yeah,
and then
stressed.
and so
yeah,
that's why the social
overworked
worker then
social
won't
worker.
go in and do
Mm.
the work
Yeah.
properly because
Yeah, they're going to be blamed.
yeah.
Yeah, nobody
Yeah.
can take
I think
responsibility.
the fact, maybe for the first time too, that we have a minister for children at the moment as
Yeah.
well, that that might advance the thing as well, and
Yeah.
hopefully that it will. As there is a
Yeah.
specific department looking after this area, which is very, very, very important area,
Yeah.
and like they're the most vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In our community, along with the elderly.
Yeah.
So we've got to really look after them. And I think
Yeah.
that the fact that there is a minister there, that it may, be tackled
This is
for
a
the
start.
first time ever.
Well,
Yeah.
so more
And
important
hopefully-
than community employment. You see, actually, some of us are going to have to accept where are we going to put the money because
Yeah.
you know we don't
Yeah.
have the money, and we'll be coming to the money later because it seems a real mess. But anyway,
We're back to the local though for our next
Yeah,
story, which
yeah.
is unfortunately more cuts. It's with the. You probably remember from last week's Anglo South, we talked about the cuts in Garda stations across
Yes.
the county. But some locals have decided to fight against it,
yeah,
and Ballinya locals are fighting against the closure of their local Garda station. Which would be very interesting, not to be
What are
cheeky
they
or anything,
doing?
but will they be arrested, or will there be anybody in Ballinya to arrest them? But fair play to them for actually speaking up against this, and
yes,
Yeah,
Ballinya
definitely.
locals to
Yeah.
fight any closure of Garda station.
Yeah,
Well, they're safe if
I
there's
think
no
they're planning a
guard.
lock-in
They're locking.
they're imprisoning themselves.
in the cells.
Yeah.
It's usually it's a lock-in in the pubs in Ballinya, but it could be a lock-in in the cells. But I think that the back of all this is key, though. I don't think the government are going to change their mind because, as you said, because of the cuts, and unfortunately, no matter how much we protest and complain, I think the decision is made. But it's a pity to see the local station going, because the local Gardaí had their finger on the pulse, and when kids are growing up, they respected them.
They know the guards there.
They know them, the
Yeah.
guards know them, they grow up
Yeah.
with them. And I think that local touch taken away, like a guard in a squad car isn't as effective as a guard on the street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And,
So
and
this
it's
is-
actually going to impact on our next story, which was about the personal thieves targeting churchgoers.
I saw that, yes.
In the car parks.
Mhm.
So if the guards aren't around on foot,
Yeah,
that's just
yeah.
going to increase.
Yeah.
Alongside the increase in that, they say that this is on the increase. This sort of behaviour is on the increase. Alongside an equivalent increase with these cash for gold shops.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh,
you know.
yes.
So you
yeah.
can just see this kind of two-tier society developing, really,
Yeah.
can't you?
And the graveyards apparently as well, that's another place where they target cars, It's just very sad, isn't it, that you really can't even go and
Yeah.
grieve your relative or your loved one without
And you come
thinking,
back and find your
am I
car.
going to have my handbag robbed,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, increasingly, all the cuts and everything do seem to be creating a two-tier system. In
But the
our-
sad thing about that, though, is even if you had the Gardaí there and you arrest them, the guys that are doing it know that there's nothing going to happen to them, because
Yeah.
we don't have the backup with relation to the prison spaces, or they don't care. Those guys, they're professionals, and they don't mind. They take the chance and they don't mind, because they know they're going to be, if they're put away, they're going to be out in a couple of days or a couple of weeks. So it's just
Yeah.
encouraging it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
that's- Yeah. But so where do you go from there? Oh my God. Anyway, I think we're going to go for a break.
Yeah, we need a
think that's
break
where
from
we
all
go.
this fantastic news. So we're going to go for a break, folks, and we'll be back after this.
Okay, welcome back to Forum Views. If you'd like to come on the programme Friday evenings, live between 7 and 8, and chat about the news and hot topics of the day, then do contact us. Contact drumlinmedia@gmail.com or cavantv.com. Okay, so tonight we're with Jerry Brady and Margaret Naylon, and we're just chatting about the issues in the Anglo-Celt. So we've touched on a few national issues as well.
Let's go to a happy story, because we did have a few kind of not so nice stories. We finished the church story there a second ago. We were talking about the there we have the picture there from professional thieves targeting churchgoers.
Yeah.
So we kind of finished that one, but let's go for a happy one instead. Cavan Business and Tourism Awards to be launched. I think it's a great idea, absolutely brilliant idea, and especially for new and innovative businesses to try and capture what's there and trying to give a reward or an incentive for new businesses.
Well, it is a good idea actually, because there's a lot of new businesses being started up. I know too, and I wouldn't be into the business world. I mean, Jerry, you'd be more.
Yeah, as you go around the county, you see and you hear of a lot of new business starting up, and I think it's tremendous that they're being recognised now. And I see the Anglo-Celtic and Cavan Chamber of Commerce are sponsoring the event.
Yeah.
So and the Enda Kenny coming down to launch it as well, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
But it's great encouragement, and there've been tremendous people around, even our own area of John Riley, as you know, who had the aerosol factory, or sorry, not the aerosol, he worked there originally, Fomalite factory out the road, and tremendous man for the community, giving employment in a local area that needed it badly. And if you go around all the parishes in the county, there's loads of people in the background working away in little companies and little factories, maybe with 2 or 3 people, or little businesses like that need recognition and need the encouragement to keep going. And this is brilliant, so it is.
Right, well, Margaret as well. I mean, you're a small business.
I am.
Would you apply for this sort of thing?
Do you know, I just might, in fact, you know, I mean, the thing
We'll
is...
nominate you, Margaret.
It's all, thank you very much. Yeah, well, I tell you, it's the support you need, it's that sort of background, isn't it? That I mean, usually when you start off your own business, you're working pretty much by yourself. And, you know, you're obviously going to have days, and preferably only hours, if not days, of really considering, am I doing the right thing, you know? And to get something like that, it just makes such a difference, you know? Just to know there's others out there who are sort of struggling like you are, you know?
And there are a lot of people, I'd say, who are doing kind of home businesses, like on the internet. And
Yes,
there's the party people.
and it's very silent, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
You know, it's all sort of, you know, in the attic room or something on the computer.
Well, so what we must do, I think maybe it's something the forum could do, maybe help out with this by trying to encourage people to nominate people who they know are starting small businesses. And so that it really does reach down to those people who are operating out of their own homes.
And it's coming from the small business as well. Like, for example, there's one gentleman there, Daniel Barr from Cinta Technologies, or Cinta Technologies.
Yeah, we had him in
who we
here,
covered on Cavan TV previous.
Yeah.
And he started as a one-person business, still is a one-person business. You know, so it isn't just large business operatives who are
because
doing
even 3M,
this.
I mean, Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing Company, whatever it was, you know, it started in a tiny little shack somewhere, you know, in Minnesota, and look at it now, you know, and look at
look
IKEA.
at Apple.
Yeah, look at IKEA, so you have to start somewhere, don't you?
Exactly.
You know?
So well done
Brilliant.
to them, and good luck with it. When's it going to happen? Coming weeks.
Coming weeks, I think.
So get your posh black
the winners.
shoes
I think the event
on.
is in September.
The winners will be announced, at Hotel Kilmore on September 27th.
And the kind of criteria, innovation is one of the criteria.
Does that mean technology innovation when it says that, do you think?
Maybe any type of
No,
innovation.
any kind of innovation, I think.
I
not
think it
just
takes a lot of
technology.
innovation to try and survive today. So
That's right, yes.
Yeah. We're going to put forward Cavan TV.
Oh, very good, yes, why not?
Okay, we're going to...
Well, we need your beds. We need your beds. Cavan TV needs... No, the FLA needs your beds. Folks, you may have seen recently leaflets coming through your letterbox requesting beds for the FLA.
Yeah.
So it's our 3rd year running to have the FLA, very successful. We do host a huge amount of people for it, so we need your beds.
Yeah, so you get your double room. If you have a double room, you can actually, if you do B&B, you can get €70.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
And
bad.
€35 for a single room. So It really is worthwhile, and it's good
Yeah.
crack. I was doing a bit of this last year, going around looking at homes
Yes.
that could put people up, and from the year before, people had a great time. Absolutely.
They made friends, actually, didn't they, with
Yeah.
the people? Yeah. Because I wouldn't imagine you'd actually see much of them apart from breakfast.
Oh, you do.
Would you? Aren't they
yeah.
going out to the music?
Well, they do, but if music's local. And
Yeah,
stuff, you
yeah.
know,
That's right.
they
Just
come and go.
Yeah.
They come and go.
Yeah.
Actually, while we're on the flower, I don't know if you saw in the Anglo-Celt this week the Tradathon in Coot Hill.
Yeah.
It was a fundraiser for a.
There's the lads from Cavan TV.
Oh my God!
Brilliant.
It's Brian.
Well done. There's Brian and Mick Goldrick, and actually it was a technological feat. Let's talk about what it was for first.
Well, it was firstly for the little boy who's very sick, and he's in Boston, and so it was a fundraiser to raise the money to support him. But what was so clever about it was that Brian managed from Coot Hill to stream live events in Boston, in Dublin, in Achill Island,
Good heavens.
Lurgan.
Yeah.
Lurgan,
yeah.
and
Was
of
it
course,
This is
Mudgeborn?
like Live Aid.
Mudgeborn, is it?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just from Coot Hill, isn't
Brilliant.
that amazing?
Absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant.
So well done,
Yeah.
Brian.
He's put Coot Hill on the map.
And well
on the
done,
map.
Cavan TV.
Excellent, excellent stuff.
And actually, I think the guy's coming on to Cavan TV to tell us how
Oh,
much they
Ray,
raised.
yeah, he'll be coming on to Cavan TV in the near future to talk about the events, and hopefully we'll get Brian in sometime to talk about how great a challenge it was trying to pull it off.
Yeah. See, I don't understand any
Yeah,
of that.
just before we leave the flag, I think
Yeah.
it's very important to really say that how well it has been organised for the last 2 years,
Yeah.
and hopefully this year will be equally as good. I think Jack Keys, the County Council, and all the volunteers and all the workers have done a fantastic job.
Yeah.
It's been a fabulous event. It has brought thousands of people to Cavan Town. It's
Yeah.
put Cavan back on the map, and it's brought probably millions into the local economy as well. As you said, they're even back into bed and B or B&B in local houses, whatever. So, and it's been on the street, so many people rambling around, going nowhere, doing nothing,
Yeah.
and everybody in good
Having
form.
fun, yeah.
Everybody in good form.
Yeah.
So I think they deserve a tremendous amount of credit for the way they've managed it and the way it has been organised over the last 2 years. So, really looking forward to this year's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it should be. It should go
Locally, I have to say financially, but as well morally.
Morally,
it's
yeah.
been a great moral boost
It has.
to the area.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do we have next, folks?
So, if you have a look on the screen there, rainmaking 2012 as bad as 2009 for farmers.
Now, I wasn't here in 2009, but I heard it was a very bad summer, or a non-existent summer. Was that right?
Can't remember that far back,
Yeah.
actually.
I think it was, and I think the farming community were having a tough time, and this year as well, it's trying to make silage or whatever. But again, I suppose everybody was born and reared in a farm as well. But as the old joke goes about the farmer going into the maternity ward with his wife, and he brought her down, he wasn't going to wait for the baby delivered, he went up to the expectant daddy's room, but he said he have 3 wishes for the child: 1 that it's a boy, 2 that it's blonde, and 3 that it's a farmer. So the midwife came up about 20 minutes later and said, "Mr. Murphy, your 3 wishes have been granted. Your wife's after giving birth to a boy, he's blonde and he's a farmer." And he thought, well, how do you know he's a farmer? I can, you know he's blonde, you know he's a boy, but how do you know that he's a farmer? And she said, well, he's whinging already. So, sorry to all the farmers out there, but I think to make the poor mouth and not him as well. But silage has been a fantastic invention. I don't think it'd make hay in this weather over the last number of months. So silage has been really a fantastic invention, and they'll all get it rounded up, and price of milk is going up as well. So they're not too badly off this year.
No, they're not. And actually, the farmers are much better off this year than they have been for a long time.
Yes.
And the work, they are producing, and it's all working out.
And it's great to see it coming back, because it was the backbone of our economy before the Celtic Tiger. And the one thing about the farmers, well, I know I made a joke about that, the one thing about the farmer is if he makes €1, he'll spend 2. He'll reinvest. He'll reinvest. He'll put the money back in, and he'll give employment. And I think that's tremendously important. And it's great to see agriculture coming back, and the agricultural colleges being oversubscribed at the moment with young people trying to get into farming. So it's great to see it.
Well, can someone just explain to me, because I don't come from a farming background, when it rains and the grass is wet, you can't cut it, can you?
No, the machinery will plough the place up, and it'll just bring in the soil into the silage pit, and it'll render the silage useless.
Right,
so you can't really do it now.
Yeah, because my garden is now 3 foot high, and I just wonder how I'm ever going to cut it.
Take your scythe out, Kate.
Yeah,
Because if you use a strimmer, it's going to clog.
Or get the guys from the social employment scheme down.
Yeah, okay. Jerry,
We've no money for equipment. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
Gowna stories
it's
next.
actually, Jerry mentioned this earlier. It was the
that's right, yes.
raising the 11,000 for cancer. You know, again, I just have a funny story about this though on the Operation Transformation. You know, Colette is wonderful, and she organised the whole thing, and so many people took part in the Operation Transformation. We had over 70 people, men and women, involved in this. You know,
Try to
raising
explain to
funds.
our viewers, Kit, what is Operation Transformation?
Well, Operation Transformation is basically keeping fit, and you kind of play games, you exercise, and you get weighed in every time, and you according to the amount of weight
you
loss.
sort of do it as a group, do you?
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's sponsored.
Yeah.
So you raise the money as
Yeah.
things, and then you do different things as a group. So some of the fellas then in Ghana were playing baseball for a time, basketball, and all sorts of things. And we were in the hall watching them, and I thought, oh my goodness, they are going to have a heart attack. They are really going to have a heart attack. The way they were throwing themselves around the hall was unbelievable. And we had this military man, a guy from the military who
Sort of
facilitated
boot camp
the whole
person.
thing.
Yeah.
And you just thought, oh my goodness. So I'm really glad it's finished.
Nobody died.
No.
It was good to see the competitive edge coming back.
It was amazing.
And it's a win-win situation. I think Irish Cancer Society are winners, but all the people that took part are winners as well, because they're all a lot fitter and a lot healthier now.
Yeah.
And I think there was a total
Made
loss,
friends, I'm sure.
weight loss of over 32 stone.
My
Wow.
goodness.
32 stone.
Yes,
Good
so which was
Lord.
fantastic.
Incredible.
Fantastic.
Incredible.
Go, go,
Wow.
go, Ghana. Okay, so.
We're into more national stories now. So where are we going next? We're talking
the
to
Sinn
the
Féin.
constituency changes
All
first.
right,
Kate.
okay.
We have a picture here. Cavan no longer exists, or has split up, or how does this work? Do we have the local picture there, lads, as well? Yep, there we go. So Cavan is now split between Monaghan and Leitrim, apparently.
Yeah.
So
So
where do you
Arva,
live
bye
now?
bye Arva, bye bye
yeah.
Drum Lane, bye bye Swanland Bar.
Black Line.
We've just lost the whole
Yeah.
of West Cavan.
Yeah.
Now we have to
Well,
stop.
let's look at the background to this. The reshuffle is to try and give proportionate population to each constituency. So that's why you. But how does that affect us as normal folk?
Well, I shouldn't think the people in Killeshandra or Arva are going to be very happy about being part of Leitrim.
I doubt it. And West Cavan, and
Yeah.
along with that, our politicians aren't going to be very happy as
No.
well, because I think Brendan Smith is losing a lot of his core vote there in West Cavan, because as you know, Brendan is from Bonboy
Yeah.
or Templeport, so he
Yeah.
would be losing a lot of his vote down there, because all of West Cavan has been moved into Leitrim.
Yeah.
Also, I think Sinn Féin, it would be a very stronghold for Sinn Féin in West Cavan along the Fermanagh border there, and it would affect their vote as well, and maybe their chances of trying to secure a second seat as well in the next election.
Except that
Yeah.
they might secure a second seat in Leitrim, but they
But it's-
certainly won't secure a second seat.
It'd be
in
very
Cavan.
difficult to secure a
Yeah.
second seat in Cavan,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it would. Plus the fact too, it means we've one representative less
Yeah.
in Cavan, Monaghan. It's gone from a
Yeah.
5-seater to a 4-seater.
Yeah.
So again, it's a voice less in the Dáil to represent us. It's a voice less to speak for us, and I think that's a loss as well. So
Yeah. Yeah.
See, that's the difficult thing when you try to gauge something on population only rather than on the identity of a people.
Yeah.
You know, it's very difficult. Just say statistically that so many thousand, cut them off into that section. And really, I don't think it respects the views or the identities of people.
Well, actually, remember, they're not actually moving it. I mean, into Leitrim. I mean, they're still going to belong to Cavan.
No, but
I
as
mean,
Sherry was saying, it's about who's speaking for us as.
Yeah, because the thing is, the person in Leitrim, the TD.
Yeah, but how many of
More
us
than
enjoy
likely.
our TDs and believe they speak for us? Come on the one hand, we're saying they're all a total waste of time, and on the other hand, we're saying, well, actually, we like them, we want them, we want to keep them. Come on, guys.
I suppose we
Better
are.
devil, you know, okay.
Per capita population, we have got a very high representation
We
of
have.
politicians
Yeah.
from local to national. And I know you spent time you're from the UK, Kate,
Yeah.
and you know that the population there and the amount of public representatives I have is
Yeah.
totally different
Yeah.
about the ratio we have here.
Yeah.
So,
I think get rid of them. I do. I think
one
cut
each,
them. I think
one
this
each
is good.
county. That's right.
So yeah, no, I mean, I actually think that we do need to reduce it. I heard someone saying that a third of the TDs third of the Dáil representation could go, particularly when the Senate goes as well, if people vote in favour of that.
Yes,
Well,
and the thing is, I mean,
so
the-
then all our TDs are going to have to be working harder.
yeah.
So they won't be
For-
out here
yeah.
bothering us.
But isn't the councillors though meant to look after us here? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the TDs should be in the Dáil. They
Yeah.
shouldn't be
Exactly.
doing parish bump
Yeah.
politics. It's a
Yeah.
waste of time, waste of space.
But unfortunately, the culture has been in Ireland that you have to be at every funeral,
Yeah.
or you lose the
Yeah.
votes, and I think that is something that should be stamped out or wiped out,
Absolutely.
Well,
because
this might help.
having TDs and government ministers driving up
Yeah.
to a church at the last minute in a state
Yeah.
car, dashing in,
Yeah.
dashing out,
Yeah.
probably never met the
Crazy
person.
stuff.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But there's 20 or 30 votes in the family, or 40 votes. And if you don't turn up, you lose them.
Yeah.
And I think that, but as a nation and as a population, we need to really come to
Yeah.
terms with that ourselves as well,
Yeah.
and say, look, we're not going to see these guys as often. And as Margaret said, we use our local councillors
Yeah.
if
Otherwise,
we
don't
need
have
it.
the councillors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either have TDs or councillors,
them
but
more
don't have
relevant.
both.
Well,
yeah.
no, you do need local representation.
No, but I
I
mean
think we need
yeah.
to strengthen that.
Yeah,
local
exactly. But they're the ones who
representation.
should be going
Yeah.
to the church or whatever if they want to. You
Yeah.
know, not the TDs. They should
Yeah.
be in the Dáil.
Well, speaking of representation, and we've spoken about Sinn Féin. Sinn Féin has been prominent in the national stories this week. So, how Sinn Féin has broken the rules on TD cash is one of our stories, using travel expenses to hire staff.
Yeah.
Now, there's two sides to every coin, I suppose. I've heard, one side, particularly from Sinn Féin's point of view. I heard Peter Stofferty speaking about, how it takes someone off the live register. He's helping people, but it's taxpayers' money as well.
Well, it's
What do you
breaking the
think
law.
of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, one law for them and one law for everybody else.
Mm.
There's
Well-
other ways to employ people.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, everybody knows that the Sinn Féin TD only takes the industrial wage from his salary and the rest goes into the party. Okay? Now, they did introduce legislation, I think it was last year, saying that any of the expenses, travel, overnight stays, whatever, has to be spent on that.
Mhm.
Okay? So they have broken the rules in the sense
Yeah.
that they are employing people with that sum of money. So that's going to have to be stopped, right?
Yeah.
It does beg the question about why the expenses are so high that they're able to do that.
Mm.
Or does Sinn Féin simply not go to anything?
But the other thing is that you can claim unvouched expenses. And I think
Yeah.
that's where the problem is. I don't know of any other business that would allow you to claim expenses without having a receipt for them.
You're joking.
Yes, so you can
Yeah.
claim
Still.
you can claim vouched and unvouched expenses, and all expenses should be vouched for.
Yeah.
You should be
definitely.
able to furnish a receipt for it, and then you get your money back for it.
Well,
So
that
I
would
think this
resolve all
this
the
is part of the
problems
problem,
then.
that this is unclaimed expenses
Yeah.
and they're using it for that purpose. So I think there's a lot of work to be done in that area.
Unvouched expenses, free money.
Free money,
That's just crazy.
free
Insane.
money.
Actually, just speaking of Sinn Féin, also possibility of Martin McGuinness meeting the Queen.
Yeah, I believe he's meant to be.
Yeah, no, it's
So
been
he
agreed
should,
today.
yeah,
The
yeah.
greeting
they
just
had
this
the.
afternoon.
Isn't he
Yeah.
representing everybody in Northern Ireland,
Yeah.
isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, quite an interesting thing to see someone from that background to
Yeah.
be able to meet the Queen.
I mean, what
Very
he-
interesting. Yeah.
But I mean, he agreed that he was standing for president. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
come on, come
Yeah.
on, you know.
Yeah.
It was one
Maybe
of
the
the
Queen doesn't want
contentious
to meet him,
questions.
actually. I mean, did anybody consider that one?
Yeah,
You
that's a
know,
Queen
good
doesn't
point.
want to meet him.
Perhaps. You never know. Well,
She's
you know,
very
Mullockmore and all
graceful,
that, you know.
Very
Yeah.
graceful lady.
Very
And,
forgiving.
yes.
Yeah, I think she wouldn't have any problem meeting him, but it's a very unusual situation. I think Sinn Féin lost out very heavily by not being involved in the Queen's visit here.
Last
Yeah.
year, yeah.
They
It could
made
have been
a mistake.
I think they made a mistake there, and this is an opportunity maybe for them to gain some ground back.
Yeah.
But just from what I've heard recently, I don't think Peter Robinson has ever shook hands with Martin McGuinness in public. Even
Is that
though,
right?
yeah, that's true. Even though that they're both working together so closely,
Right.
and behind the scenes, they've got a very good relationship. So it's a very unusual situation
Yeah,
in
so
Northern
it's very
Ireland. So it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
So the handshake will be very symbolic, and
Yeah.
hopefully it will happen. Like
Yeah.
and hopefully it'll happen in public. That it won't be behind closed doors. That there's some talk about them trying to bring it back in behind closed doors.
Oh, I'm sure
That he
it will
meets her
happen
behind
in
closed.
public.
So hopefully it will be in public.
Yeah.
Well-
Along with Michael O'Leary.
Bringing that out to the public. See, Ryanair is trying to buy Aer Lingus.
Is he or isn't
well,
he?
Is he? Is he indeed?
This is the story where he's put in an offer of €1.30, and I think it was Leo who said a year ago, "Listen, if he offers us €1, we'll think about it." And so they now have to go away and think about it. They did interviews with the staff, Aer Lingus staff, oh my goodness, you know, you would feel sorry for them. Having said that, Michael O'Leary, while I can't bear the trumpets, I have to say that I think Ryanair is brilliant. I use it a lot. I have to travel
and they are
backwards
very
and forwards
efficient.
a lot.
Yeah.
They're generally on time. They're very reliable. Okay, they're really uncomfortable, and you can't take more than your, you know, knickers and
it's the extra
toothbrush
bits,
with you,
that annoy you.
Yeah.
It's essentially a bus journey,
generally
but that's
speaking,
what
yeah.
you're going for.
Yeah.
You're not
And
paying
you're
for
paying
lots
for
of
cheap,
luxury.
easy,
Yeah.
efficient transport.
Yeah.
But do we want that to extend to Aer
Well, I
Lingus?
tell you, one thing that worries me about it, I remember the days when I paid £400 in the old days to go to France. To go to Paris. £400 there and back.
Yeah.
Well, not there and back, but, you know, for the return
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's the problem if Ryanair take over Aer Lingus. How many other, you know, airlines do we have coming in?
Competitive
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas
And-
the you know, could monopolise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that would be a
Well, I'm
disaster.
not sure this would be allowed by the monopolies, would it, Jerry?
That's the situation that has to be
Yeah.
investigated. As you say, fares, there's no competition, so the danger is that fares will go back up, and that's the danger. But of course, Michael O'Leary is a shrewd operator. He owns, I think, 25, or I don't know what percent. Sorry, what percentage? He owns some 26% of Aer Lingus already. Like, if he's saying now I'm prepared to pay 130, well, that's looking. He's setting the share price at that. How if he turns the coin the other way and decides he wants to sell his 26%?
Yeah.
Of Aer Lingus, it's going to be priced at 130, so you get a hell of a good price out of it. So you just don't know what he's working at. But like Margaret,
How can he sell it when he's buying it?
he mightn't. At the end of the day, he mightn't buy it. If he didn't buy it, and let's say he sold it, and someone else came in and took that 26%.
okay.
So he's setting his stall at 130
Oh
per
my
share as well. So it could be a
goodness,
win-win
okay.
situation for him. But I wouldn't like to see it happen personally, because, as you say, competition is gone.
Yeah.
We're an island nation.
Yeah.
We need to be. We need
And
our. We
so
need
just
airlines.
just the
Being a
cost.
shrewd operator, I mean, one of the quotes there: "With Ryanair's help, we believe Aer Lingus can grow its traffic from 9.5 million passengers per year to 14 million." You know, but how do you do that? That's the question. You know, and if you start, if you're monopolising, people have no choice.
Yes.
You know, at all. You know, so
That's the problem.
You know, increasing Aer Lingus may not be in the best interest of the people who use the air company itself.
It's not just the cost either, but it's also taking planes off routes
Yeah.
or changing the times.
Reshuffling.
You know, yeah. I mean, we'd really be, you know,
And the
stuck.
big issue is the staff as well. You know, I mean, I do. I mean, it's he doesn't recognise the unions.
No, he doesn't. But
No.
I suppose one thing that we have to take notice of as well is, while Aer Lingus has been shrinking in numbers staff-wise, Ryanair has been increasing their numbers dramatically. So he has been given a lot more employment, and Aer Lingus have been reducing numbers. He won't recognise the union, but I suppose in this present economic climate, anybody that's increasing employment
Job
figures and job
Yeah.
numbers.
I'm
Well,
not
it's
sure
certainly
what their
helped.
conditions are.
well-
I mean, I've spoken to some of those. What are they called now? Cabin crew. And we were late one time. One time, folks, we were late, and they don't get paid when they're late.
My goodness.
Yeah, that's a real problem. Anyway, we're going to fly off to a break.
Ah,
Can we have the trumpets, please?
Yeah, we're going to go for a break right now, folks. No flying off, and we'll be back after this. Welcome back to Forum Views, your local magazine show from Cavan TV with myself, Daniel Downey, and Kate Annals. So we're joined today by Jerry Brady and Margaret Nailon. And you just saw an ad from McIntyre's Furniture as well, where we got these brilliant seats. Fantastic stuff. The furniture was donated by Kate previously, and it was mouldy and disgusting. Well, it was fine. It was fine. It was fine.
And they're still using it next door.
It did kind of swallow you up inside, and you had to have a shower afterwards. But anyway, let's get on with the show, folks. We're on to the Euro Cup, and Ireland's out.
And England are at the top of the team D. That's silence.
I think you're outnumbered here, actually, Kate.
Let's just say the Irish
they're
team
all a bit shocked by that.
The Irish team have made it back safe and sound. Unfortunately, the fans who were waiting for them at the airport, I think, can we see that story again, please, lads? We have the final letdown for fans as team dodges airport homecoming.
They sneaked out the back door. Isn't that shocking?
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, well, I was actually a winner in a competition in 1990, and not at that point having been a fan of football. Anyway, I went over to Sicily, had a fabulous time, and the players were absolutely fabulous. We were actually allowed to go and talk to them, when we were having dinner or whatever. Yeah. And they were really, really, friends, with us. They were great. But that's an awful pity. I know they must be very disappointed themselves, obviously, but I mean, surely they're dependent really on the fans, aren't they?
And the fans were so good to them.
That's the thing.
It's not as if they were riding or anything.
Who turned up at the airport.
And the amount of money, though, apart from anything else, that they spent on everything,
Yeah.
But I think it's a no-win situation for them, because if they had to come through the fans and they were kind of half mobbed, the media would be saying more of Irish. Roy Keane would be saying more of Irish fans' stupidity. They did perform really, really poorly, and I think the last thing that they wanted was really a kind of a homecoming or a reception of any shape, make or form. So maybe from that point, it probably should have been announced beforehand. Because I know, listening to the radio the other morning, that two young kids and their uncle drove all the way from Macroom in Cork, and they were up at all hours of the morning to be there for 11 o'clock or whatever, and they were waiting. They were told they were coming, and then they were told, they're gone. So, but I can see how they would have felt.
I agree with you, Jerry. I agree with you, but they should have said.
It should have been. It should have been. It should have been announced that they weren't going to.
Maybe they can make up for it by coming to the airport and waiting for all the lads who are coming back from Poland in the next week as well.
On that point, actually, we should just express condolences.
To James
to the
Nolan family.
Because obviously he won't be coming back, and that's a horrible thing to happen.
Very sad.
Yeah, definitely.
So moving on, then, the other thing about children. The Quinn children, they can't live on £2,000 a week.
I have to say.
I'll tell you what they could do. They could hire me, and I could help them.
Yes,
and I'll only charge them £1,500 a week.
I have to say, coming from someone I've hit long-term unemployed, so I know what it's like to live on £200 a week, with your bills and everything. To read that article makes me feel disgusted, actually. That someone cannot try and diminish their finances down to live on £2,000 a week.
I mean, what do you spend it on? You'd be busy spending it, wouldn't you? I mean, how would you spend £2,000?
Someone, I think, needs to sit down and explain the difference between needs and wants.
Yes, well, that's true. Very true. Yeah.
And to actually go back to the High Court. Interesting.
I think the whole Sean Quinn issue, going back to your previous topic there, which was soccer, it really is a bit like Roy Keane and Mick McCarthy and Saipan. It has really divided the country, and it has divided the people of Cavan and Fermanagh and Leitrim and Longford as well, where he was picking up a lot of his workforce from. Because there are people who would swear by Sean Quinn and the Quinn family, because they did generate a serious amount of employment in an area that really, really needed it badly. And I remember when Killeshandra was the centre of the universe around Cavan, with Lakeland Dairies, or Killeshandra Co-op as it was, McCormick Products, Fletcher Sawmill, and that all died away. And all of a sudden Sean Quinn brought the employment to Ballyconnell and to Derrylin, and a lot of people would really back Sean Quinn to Hill. Now on the other side of it, there are a lot of people who would say, like, he really gambled with the workers' careers, and he took a lot of chances, and he did things that he shouldn't have done, and so it really does divide people and divide communities.
It does, but something like this, Jerry. I mean, yes, I mean, he shouldn't have. I mean, I'm not going to say which side of the camp I stand on, but the point is, surely at this stage where he still has his rather wonderful house, well, wonderful, it depends on your taste. He has a rather large house.
Castle, mansion.
Castle, mansion,
sorry. Go
up,
ahead.
up near, what's it called? The Sleeve Russell. And kids that can't live on 2,000 a week. I don't think anyone could possibly understand that. Do you?
I certainly don't.
I know what you're saying, and I suppose it depends on where you're coming from, you know, and where you're going to as well. And like, if your outgoings and if your commitments are at a certain level, and if your income has been at a certain level in the past, most people will live to the level of income that they have. And probably from that point of view, they may say, well, we have outgoings and we have commitments that we have to meet, and it's going to take that level. Whereas somebody on an industrial wage, they live to that industrial wage. Someone that's on the next tier live to that tier. And so I know you have to, and that's what they should be looking at. So it is, and it is, and especially in the times that we have at the moment, and especially with the publicity that's coming out about what the situation in relation to the Quinn Enterprises. But having said that, Sean Quinn did deliver a tremendous amount of success to a lot of people around Cavan and neighbouring counties as well, and we can't ignore that either. And the Quinn family
did it really on gambling, didn't
you know,
he?
well, in the end,
you know,
well, he did. He was prepared. But anybody that has been, most people that have been successful.
You could see Sean Quinn as almost a microcosm of the bubble kind of economics that happened. That very well-intentioned people possibly built a foundation of something which was good in their area. But then when they, got larger, got greedy, perhaps they used that well-intentioned resources to lay the foundations of a bubble. Once
they're not a charity after all, are they?
Yeah, it's when do you stop or where do you stop? And I suppose someone with at that level never really stop. Like if you've got 10 million, do you need 11? Or if you've got 20 million, do you need 21?
I think that's where we need to learn.
And I agree with you on that. I agree with you. That was the problem. That was the problem.
He had a great business in concrete and in glass and yes, in hotels. So he diversified. But all those were solid resources. And as soon as you begin to go into the money world and you start trying to blow to create money through money, I think that's the huge
Actually, I'll tell you what. This is let's bring it back in again, because we do have to move on. But we should have a debate on this at some stage in the future. Maybe we can have a Quinn debate.
A pro Sean Quinn camp and an anti Sean.
That would be a very interesting show.
My God.
So if anybody's interested, folks, get in touch with us. drummondmedia@gmail.com if you're pro or anti Sean Quinn. I think it could be a fascinating debate and relevant to the area. Anyway, on with more.
We haven't got any guards in the country.
You're going to put in Ballinyard Guard station before it closes.
Okay, so
next story we're on to is quite national. This is earlier on in the week, isn't it, Kate? International world leaders agree €745 billion bailout deal for Spain and Italy.
And that was on Wednesday.
Okay, now then we have a few other issues that have popped up since then.
Yeah.
So go
So
ahead.
that was agreed on Wednesday as far as I can work out. Now, I find it very hard getting my head around all this finance stuff. So I'm sure everybody does, at least I hope so. Hope it's not just me. But anyway, so they agreed this 745 billion, which was going to be paid to banks, and governments wouldn't have to implement awful austerity deals and pay in order to pay the banks. But of course, it sounds like a good idea, doesn't it? But Angela Merkel doesn't think that this is the correct way forward, because what you're doing is increasing that bubble again. And you can also understand that you've actually got to have your finances pinned to the reality of life. So I do have some sympathy with her. So then we moved on, okay? So then today's headline is, can we see today's headline? IMF chief?
Warns euro survival at stake if swift
action not taken. So suddenly again, the euro's in a mess. The bonds are growing out of all proportion, and 15 countries, 15 new banks
downgraded by Moody's. Well, it's 15 of the world's biggest banks. Yeah, and so 15 new banks have been downgraded, including UK ones. Okay. So you think, well, what does that mean? Yeah. What does that mean? Who is Moody's anyway? I'll come back to that. I really want to know who Moody's is. And then finally today we hear that 9 EU countries are actually going forward to introduce, Jerry, what's it called again? A financial transaction
tax.
Yes.
tax, a
There-
financial
well,
transaction.
the tax is already there at the moment.
Yeah.
It's
In Ireland, it's only 1%.
It's in Ireland. It's only 1%, and what they're trying to do is increase that across the board, because in other countries in Europe it is higher than that, and that would basically it's financial transactions that takes place through the IFS in Dublin, Irish
Yeah.
Financial Services Centre in Dublin. We have 1% tax on all those transactions. The UK have 1%, the Netherlands have 1%, I think Switzerland have 1%. Now, if we went up to went up and the UK stayed
Yeah.
at 1%.
All the business would go
The
to
UK have said that they are not going to increase theirs.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I think we need to stick in our heels as well, because we're going to lose a serious amount of revenue in tax through the IFS if we go up at the same as the rest of what they're saying the rest of Europe wants to do.
Yeah, okay, well, I just don't know how all this is going to pan out, because 9 countries operating in one way and the rest of Europe operating in another way, 2-tier Europe
Well, we
coming
won't
into
really,
being.
we won't know until Europe decides it next week. Oh, sorry, the Bundestag. Oh, the same thing. Decides it next week and votes
Well, we're
on it.
just stumbling from one disaster to another, aren't we, for
are,
the last 4 years?
Speaking of,
Okay,
speaking
talking
of
of one
banks,
disaster
though,
to
yeah,
another.
let's go back to another banking disaster closer to home, Ulster Bank this week.
Oh,
I'm
who's
sure
with
you've heard
Ulster
it on
Bank?
the radio.
Anyone with
No,
Ulster
thank
Bank?
goodness.
Yeah, I am.
Oh, so
I
you
have my
have
own.
to pay.
I have my overdraft with Ulster Bank. So I hope the machines are out of order for a long time.
So brilliant, brilliant. That's one man who's hoping for a disaster now.
But it goes to show how dependent we all are, though. I mean,
Wow.
Yeah.
I always think, don't bother, blowing up buildings, just blow up a satellite in the sky
Yeah.
because of technology,
Well, the whole thing, you just kind of wonder how we seem to be
Start
lurching
putting
from one
things
thing
underneath
to
the mattress
another.
again, I
Actually,
think.
maybe we should just describe, because we're relying on other news here, but
Yeah.
folks,
Yeah.
it's basically about a technical difficulty in Ulster Bank, which has resulted in people not getting their wages or social welfare, and really, it's kind of
It's also
reminiscent
to do with
of
Britain as well. There wasn't
Yeah.
the RBS and...
It's kind of reminiscent of you hear those economic horror stories of Argentina years ago where banks stopped working,
Yeah,
and that's what could happen. So it's interesting.
Do you ever wonder if you're a puppet?
Yeah.
Well, don't you feel
And there's some
increasingly powerless
puppeteers.
these
Yeah.
days? You just feel so powerless, and that's the whole thing about.
Well, we're totally at the mercy of a press of a
Okay,
button.
so I'm going to
Yeah.
have
Yes.
we're just a
Yes.
few minutes off the end. I want to thank the Indo. I want
Irish
to thank
Times.
RT at the Irish Times. And I want to thank RTE. And
And
of
the
course,
Anglo
the very own Anglo
And
Cell.
McIntyre's.
And
Yeah.
McIntyre's. and now, guys,
What
what
are
are you
you up
going to
to?
be doing? Weekend?
Well, I'm
anything?
going to the the vintage agricultural fair in Virginia on Sunday. Starts at 12 noon.
Lovely,
Okay,
lovely.
very good. Enjoy.
And I recommend everybody does it. Pop up to Micksheen's pub in Killadoon,
Oh yeah,
where they're having a race night for Mullahorn GFC.
Brilliant.
Or sorry, in Kilcogie.
Kilcogie.
So Maggie and
Okay.
Michael would love to see everybody there on Saturday night.
Very
Brilliant,
good.
brilliant. Okay, that's great, folks. Thank you for coming in and joining us. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And if you want to come on Forum Views, join us. Check us on Cavan TV or drumlinmedia@gmail.com. And see us here this time next week.
Bye.